It's a quiet day, and the jungle road stretches ahead, almost inviting you into its peaceful embrace. The air is warm, and the sound of birds chirping creates a calm rhythm in the background. Keanu Reeves, fresh off a long and exhausting film shoot, drives his car down the winding road, the stress slowly melting away. The hum of the engine and the gentle sway of the car offer a sense of peace. But peace can be deceptive. Suddenly, a flash of movement cuts through the tranquility. A deer, elegant and graceful, yet clearly distressed, jumps out onto the road. It freezes, standing directly in front of his car, its wide eyes filled with fear. Keanu slams on the brakes, heart racing, barely stopping in time. But as their eyes lock, something strange happens. The deer doesn't move. Instead, it looks at him, pleading, desperate, as if it's trying to communicate. What could possibly be wrong? And why is the deer standing still, waiting for him? Keanu steps out of the car, but what happens next will change everything. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the AI Film City Animal Rescue Storytelling channel. Today, I'm excited to share a new story with you. Please relax and immerse yourself in the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. As Keanu drives along the quiet jungle road, the dense trees line both sides of the path, and the air is thick with the earthy scent of the forest. The serene stillness is broken only by the soft hum of his car's engine. It's been a long day of filming, and all Keanu wants is to get back to the comfort of his home. But nature has a different plan for him. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, Keanu spots a flash of movement. A deer, looking frail and in distress, steps on the road in front of him. Keanu slams on the brakes, and the car screeches to a halt just inches away from the animal. His heart races as the creature locks eyes with him, its gaze pleading for help. It's not just a passing animal. This deer, with its soft brown eyes, seems to understand that Keanu might be its only hope. Without thinking, Keanu pulls the car over to the side of the road. He steps out, his mind racing with questions. What is this deer doing here? Why is it so weak? But there's no time to waste. As he approaches the animal, he notices the deer's unusual behavior. Instead of running away or acting defensively, it takes a few slow steps toward him. With a soft, almost gentle nudge, it reaches out and places its hoof on Keanu's hand, as if asking him for help. Keanu's heart sinks as he notices something far more alarming. The deer's body is covered in small barnacles, and as he looks closer, the sight becomes even more disturbing. There are tiny worms squirming beneath the skin, causing the animal obvious pain. He now realizes that the deer is not just injured, it's in dire need of medical attention. What started as a peaceful day has now turned into a mission to save the life of this helpless creature. Keanu's heart races as he kneels beside the deer, its fragile body shaking from the pain. The barnacles covering its legs and the distressing sight of the worms wriggling beneath its skin make it clear that this is not a simple injury. The deer's breathing is shallow, its movement sluggish, and Keanu can tell that every step it takes is an immense effort. He knows that time is running out. As he gently touches the deer's fur, trying to comfort it, the creature jerks back in pain. Keanu's mind spins. How can he help? He's not a veterinarian, and there are no immediate medical facilities around. The nearest town is miles away, and the dense jungle surrounding him only adds to the isolation. The deer's condition is deteriorating rapidly, and Keanu realizes that he needs help. He pulls out his phone, but the signal is weak at best. Panic starts to set in. The only solution is to get the deer to professional care as quickly as possible. But without knowing how far away the nearest help is or how to navigate through the jungle, the situation becomes more desperate by the second. Keanu stands up, pacing as he tries to think of a solution. The deer, clearly sensing his distress, nudges him again, this time more insistently. It's as if it's pleading for him to do something, anything to help. Keanu's thoughts race. He could carry the deer to the town, but with its condition worsening by the minute, it's too risky. He's feeling hopeless and trapped, knowing that the window for rescuing the animal is closing fast. The clock is ticking, and Keanu's only choice is to act fast. He must find a way to get the deer the help it desperately needs, or he may lose the chance forever. Keanu's frustration grows as he stands there, helpless, beside the injured deer. Every minute feels like an eternity as he struggles to find a way to save the creature. He keeps his hand on its side, hoping that the contact might comfort it. But the deer remains restless, its body trembling from both pain and fear. The barnacles on its legs seem to weigh it down, and Keanu can see the thin, slow-moving worms burrowing into its delicate skin. The more he looks, the more he realizes that this injury is far beyond what he can handle alone. He pulls his phone out again, trying to call for help, but the signal remains weak. His hands shake with frustration as he scans the surroundings, trying to make sense of the situation. He can see the stretch of the jungle road behind him, winding away into the distance, but he knows that no help is going to magically appear out of nowhere. The isolation of the area is sinking in. He's on his own. Keanu breathes deeply, trying to calm his racing thoughts. This is no time for panic. He has to be rational. He looks at the deer again, its eyes filled with trust, but also desperation. He can't let it down. He has to act, even if it means risking his own safety. But first, he needs a plan. His mind flashes to the jungle beyond, the dense trees and tangled vines. The closest town where medical help might be available is too far for him to walk with the deer, especially with the animal in such a fragile state. He needs help, and he needs it fast. In that moment of desperation, Keanu remembers something important. The filming crew had left a few hours earlier, and some of the cast and crew might still be nearby, working on another scene further down the road. His eyes light up with hope. He recalls a member of the crew who has a background in animal care. Maybe they can offer some guidance, or even help directly. Keanu quickly stands up and begins to make his way back to his car, never once taking his eyes off the deer. His mind races as he drives further down the road, his hope growing with every passing second. He knows he's running out of time, but he won't give up. If there's any chance of saving the deer, he's going to take it. He accelerates, focusing on reaching the filming crew before it's too late. The deer's life is in his hands. As Keanu speeds down the winding jungle road, the heat of the moment presses on him. He glances back at the deer in the rearview mirror, still in the back seat, struggling with each movement. Keanu's pulse quickens as his thoughts spiral into a frantic haze. He knows that without immediate help, the deer's life is slipping away. The barnacles on its skin are slowing its movements, and the worms burrowing deep are causing more damage. Keanu's grip on the steering wheel tightens, his knuckles white with the pressure of the situation. Just as the forest begins to thin and the filming crew's trucks come into view, Keanu sees a man standing by the side of the road. It's a familiar face, but one Keanu never expected to see here, his old friend and wildlife biologist, Dr. Alice Harding. Alice had worked as a consultant on several nature documentaries Keanu had filmed in the past, and over the years, they remained close friends. She had always been passionate about wildlife preservation, often volunteering her time to rescue injured animals. But Keanu had no idea she'd be working in this area today. Keanu slams on the brakes and quickly pulls over, his heart leaping in his chest. As he jumps out of the car, Alice approaches him with a concerned look on her face. "Keanu, what happened?" she asks, noticing the distress in his eyes. Without wasting a moment, Keanu opens the back door of the car, revealing the injured deer, now panting heavily, its legs stiff from the weight of the barnacles and the pain in its body. Alice steps closer, her gaze immediately fixed on the animal. "What's going on?" she asks, kneeling beside the deer with an expert eye. Keanu takes a deep breath and quickly explains the situation, telling Alice about the barnacles and the worms. As he speaks, Alice looks back at him with a sense of disbelief, but also determination. "We need to move fast," she says, her voice steady. "It's a miracle you found me here. This deer's injuries are serious, but with the right treatment, we can save it." Keanu watches as Alice takes control, her hands moving with confidence as she checks the deer's condition. She starts by gently lifting the deer's head, speaking softly to it to keep it calm. Her experienced hands work quickly, delicately removing the barnacles from its legs and body, doing everything she can to ease its pain. Keanu stands by her side, holding the deer's head still when needed, marveling at her calm demeanor. Alice continues to examine the deer carefully, her focus intense, and after a few minutes, she turns to Keanu with a look of quiet reassurance. "The worst of it is over," she says. "We've stopped the spread of the worms, and with proper care, this deer will recover. But we'll need to get it to a sanctuary for further rehabilitation." Keanu lets out a sigh of relief. For the first time since he found the deer, he feels a sense of hope. With Alice's help, the immediate crisis has been averted. The two of them continue working together to stabilize the deer, carefully placing it in the back of Keanu's car, making sure it's comfortable and secure for the drive to the sanctuary. Before Keanu starts the car, Alice turns to him and says with a smile, "Sometimes, the unexpected moments can lead to the most beautiful outcomes. We've saved a life today, and that's something worth celebrating." Keanu nods, the weight of the situation finally lifting from his shoulders. With Alice's expertise, they've made it through the worst. The road ahead may be uncertain, but for now, they've done everything they can. They're not just rescuing a deer. They've forged a stronger bond through their shared determination to protect the world's most vulnerable creatures. As Keanu drives away with Alice and the deer, he realizes something important. No matter how tough the situation may seem, sometimes it's the unexpected help from an old friend that makes all the difference. The sun is beginning to dip low on the horizon, casting an orange glow across the jungle road as Keanu speeds towards the wildlife sanctuary. The deer is lying quietly in the back seat, breathing heavily but showing signs of recovery. Keanu glances nervously at Alice, who's sitting next to him, keeping a close eye on the animal. Her demeanor is calm, but Keanu can sense the weight of the urgency in the air. The road ahead is rough, and the sanctuary is still miles away. Keanu's hands tighten on the wheel as his mind races with thoughts of what could go wrong. What if the deer doesn't make it? What if the barnacles have done irreversible damage? What if they're too late? The questions gnaw at him. But Alice's calm presence gives him a bit of comfort. He glances over at her, but her attention is focused entirely on the deer in the back seat. "Is it okay?" Keanu asks, his voice filled with concern. Alice glances back at the deer and then back at him. "It's still too early to tell," she replies. "But we've done everything we can. The barnacles are off, and we've stabilized the worst of the damage. The real work will be at the sanctuary. They have the resources to take over from here." Keanu nods but can't shake the feeling of dread that lingers in his chest. The sanctuary is his last hope, the only place where the deer can get the medical attention it needs. Every second feels critical. The car bumps over a rough patch of road, and Keanu looks up just in time to see a series of flashing lights ahead. The sanctuary is close. As they approach the large gates, Alice motions to Keanu to slow down. They pass through the gates, greeted by a team of wildlife specialists and veterinarians who rush to the car. "We're here," Alice says, her voice filled with relief as she steps out of the car. Keanu follows her, his heart still racing. The team moves quickly, and within moments, they've carefully lifted the deer from the back seat and placed it on a gurney. The sanctuary's vet, Dr. Martin, arrives, examining the animal's condition with a trained eye. "Barnacles and worms," Dr. Martin mutters to himself, shaking his head. "This isn't something you see every day." He turns to Alice, then to Keanu. "You did the right thing bringing it here. We'll take it from here." The team moves with precision, preparing the deer for immediate treatment. Keanu watches closely, feeling a surge of emotion as the deer's fragile form is carefully examined. It's clear that it's in pain, but there's hope in the way the team works. Dr. Martin looks at Keanu. "You were in the right place at the right time. Without you, we might not have been able to save it." Keanu swallows hard, his voice barely above a whisper. I just found it. Alice is the one who did most of the work. Alice smiles faintly, but there's a sense of pride in her expression. We all played a part, she says. And now we wait. The next few hours are a blur. Keanu watches as the team moves quickly to treat the deer, applying ointments and cleaning its wounds. The barnacles have been completely removed, but the damage done by the worm still needs careful attention. Keanu stands by, helpless but hopeful, as Alice speaks with the vet about the next steps. The most important thing now is rest, Dr. Martin says. We'll need to monitor its recovery closely, but with the care it's receiving here, it has a real chance at making it. As the night falls, Keanu finds a quiet corner of the sanctuary to sit and reflect on everything that's happened. It feels like a lifetime ago that he was driving down that jungle road, the deer's desperate plea for help echoing in his mind. Now, all he can do is hope that this little life will be spared, that it will heal, and that the world will continue to turn just a little bit better because of this day. Keanu looks at Alice, who has been standing by his side the entire time, watching the team work. Thank you, he says quietly, his voice thick with emotion. You saved its life. Alice smiles, her eyes full of compassion. We saved it together. She pauses, looking out at the peaceful sanctuary grounds. This is what we do, Keanu. This is what makes it all worth it. Keanu nods in agreement. As he watches the deer being cared for, he realizes something profound. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness and the unlikeliest of allies can make the difference between life and death. Today, he's learned that even in the face of uncertainty, there is always hope. The night had fallen by the time Keanu and Alice sat in the small, dimly lit waiting area of the sanctuary. The quiet hum of activity from the medical team was all around them, but it felt distant, as if they were trapped in a moment outside of time. The exhaustion from the day's events weighed on them both, yet neither could bring themselves to leave. The only thought on their minds was the fate of the deer, now safely inside the sanctuary, receiving treatment. The soft, rhythmic sounds of the deer's breathing echoed in the silence, a small reminder that life, fragile as it may be, was continuing to pulse through its body. It had been hours since the rescue operation had taken place, and the progress had been slow but steady. Dr. Martin, the lead vet, had explained that the deer was responding to the treatment, but they had to wait through the night to ensure it could make it through the most critical phase of recovery. Keanu stared out of the small window, the cool night air drifting in from the jungle. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting shadows across the sanctuary. It was a peaceful scene, but Keanu's mind raced. He couldn't shake the image of the deer's trembling body, the barnacles that had clung to its skin like a suffocating weight. He could still hear its cries, see the fear in its eyes when it reached out to him for help. That moment, when the deer had grabbed his hand with its hooves and tugged him toward its wounded baby, had changed something in him forever. Alice, who had been quietly sitting beside him, finally spoke, her voice soft yet resolute. It's going to be okay, Keanu. The team's amazing here. They're doing everything they can. Keanu turned to her, his expression a mix of gratitude and concern. I don't know if I'll ever get used to how quickly life can change. One moment you're driving home from work, thinking about your day, and the next you're in the middle of a rescue, holding a life in your hands. It's just so much to process. Alice nodded, her gaze fixed on the closed door leading to the treatment area. It's not easy, she said quietly, but that's the reality of what we do. We face the unknown every day, but it's moments like this, when we make a difference, that keep us going. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway, and both of them turned instinctively. Dr. Martin emerged from the treatment room, his face tired but smiling. He gave them both a reassuring look. It's good news, Dr. Martin said, his voice calm but full of emotion. The deer is stabilizing. Its vital signs are improving. We've removed the last of the worms and cleaned the remaining wounds. It's not out of the woods yet, but it's on the mend. We'll continue to monitor it through the night, but I believe it has a real chance." Keanu's breath caught in his throat. He blinked rapidly, overwhelmed by the rush of relief that surged through him. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. "So, it's going to make it?" Keanu asked, his voice a bit shaky from the emotion he was holding in. Dr. Martin nodded. "Yes, but we'll need to keep it here for a while longer, just to be safe. We don't want to take any chances. But the worst is behind us. You did the right thing by bringing it here." Alice exhaled sharply, her posture relaxing as the tension that had built up over the past few hours finally seemed to lift. Keanu let out a long breath as well, his body sinking into the chair as the weight of the day finally began to ease off his shoulders. He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt this kind of relief, so intense, so overwhelming. "I don't know what to say," Keanu murmured, his eyes fixed on Dr. Martin. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Dr. Martin smiled kindly. "You don't have to say anything. Just knowing you care enough to help. That's all that matters." For a moment, there was silence, the enormity of the situation slowly settling in. Keanu glanced at Alice, who was smiling softly, her eyes glistening with unspoken emotion. She had been right. The bond between humans and animals, especially in moments of crisis, was profound, undeniable. It was a connection that transcended words, one that bound them together in ways nothing else could. A soft noise from the treatment room broke the stillness, and Alice looked at Keanu, her voice steady now. "Why don't we go see the deer?" Keanu nodded, rising from his chair. Together, they walked toward the door. The world outside was dark, but inside the sanctuary, there was a feeling of hope, of healing. Keanu had been a part of something far bigger than himself today. The deer was alive, and its chance for survival had been secured. It was a small victory, but it was a victory that had made all the difference. As Keanu and Alice stepped into the treatment room, they saw the deer lying peacefully on the gurney. Its body was still weak, but its breathing was steady. Keanu reached out and gently placed his hand on the animal's head, feeling the warmth of life beneath his touch. The bond between them, forged in the heat of the moment, was undeniable. The deer had found a second chance, and Keanu had found something unexpected too. Hope, purpose, and the reminder that sometimes it only takes a single act of kindness to change everything. The weeks following the rescue felt like a whirlwind. Keanu and Alice continued their work in the sanctuary, but there was a quiet shift in their lives. They had seen many animals come and go, some of them needing treatment, others needing protection, but nothing had prepared them for the change this rescue operation had sparked in them. The deer, still recovering, had become a symbol of the work they did, not just as a living being saved, but as a reminder of the responsibility they carried. Keanu had always been someone who enjoyed the tranquility of the outdoors. He had spent years in the industry, acting in films, living a fast-paced, constantly shifting life. But his experience with the deer had opened his eyes to the real-world struggles animals faced daily. It had stirred something within him, a deep-rooted desire to do more, to make a more significant impact. As days passed, Keanu found himself researching ways to help, devouring information on animal welfare, learning more about the challenges of rescue operations, and finding ways to integrate that passion into his life. He didn't just want to be the person who rescued one deer on a whim. He wanted to be part of the larger solution. It wasn't just about the deer anymore. It was about the countless other creatures out there who needed help. Alice, too, had been impacted by the ordeal. While Keanu had always been driven by his acting career, Alice had been the one with the steady presence in their lives, the one who took care of the practical details of their personal and professional worlds. But now, there was a fire in her that had ignited. After all the years of being by his side, she found herself drawn into a new purpose. They had seen firsthand how much of an impact even one act of kindness could have, and the thought of continuing to help animals, of giving them a second chance at life, was too powerful to ignore. "We're not just rescuing animals, Keanu," Alice said one night as they sat together in their living room. the glow of the fire softly illuminating their faces. We're changing lives. We're saving futures. Keanu turned to look at her, his eyes reflecting the firelight. I never realized how much this could mean. I always thought I was too busy for something like this, but seeing that deer, being there with you in the moment, it made me see the bigger picture. It made me understand that this isn't something that just happens. It's something we have to work at. Their conversation wasn't one-sided. Both had been affected deeply by the experience, and they knew they had a responsibility to act on what they had learned. That night, they made a decision. They would commit themselves fully to animal welfare, no longer just as bystanders, but as active participants in creating change. They would take the next steps to make the world better for those who couldn't speak for themselves. But it wouldn't be easy. They knew it would take time, dedication, and a willingness to keep pushing forward, no matter how difficult things might become. In the days that followed, they reached out to the sanctuary where the deer had been treated. They offered support, providing funding for the sanctuary's ongoing projects and becoming vocal advocates for animal rescue efforts. Keanu even began speaking out in interviews about the importance of protecting wildlife, urging his fans to get involved in supporting animal charities. They launched campaigns to raise awareness about the challenges of wildlife conservation, the dangers animals face due to human interference, and the importance of preserving their natural habitats. The success of their efforts didn't come overnight, but every small step they took led to something larger, something more meaningful. Keanu's fame gave him a platform, and with it, he and Alice were able to shine a light on issues that mattered. They were not just saving animals. They were inspiring others to take action, to join in the effort, and to be a part of something greater than themselves. It wasn't long before they made the decision to establish their own animal rescue organization, one dedicated to protecting wildlife and providing care for injured and orphaned animals. It was a dream that had been born out of the crisis that day in the jungle, and now it was becoming a reality. As the weeks went by, they found themselves more connected to each other, to their mission, and to the animals they were working to protect. The deer, now fully recovered, had become a living symbol of their commitment, a reminder of the power of compassion and the impact of one person's actions. And so, Keanu and Alice's journey continued. What had started as a random act of kindness had evolved into a deep-rooted commitment to making a difference. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but they were ready. Together, they had found a new purpose, one that would continue to guide them in the years to come. The world may never have fully understood why they had chosen to make this their mission, but for them, the answer was simple. In saving a life, they had found their own purpose. Every act of kindness matters, no matter how small. Keanu and Alice's story is a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference. Whether it's rescuing a helpless animal, supporting wildlife conservation, or simply spreading awareness, you too can help create a better world for our furry and feathered friends. If you believe in the power of compassion and want to make a tangible impact, we urge you to get involved. Donate to animal rescue organizations, volunteer your time, or simply share stories like Keanu and Alice's to inspire others. Every contribution counts. Join us in our mission to protect and care for wildlife. Follow us on social media. Sign petitions for animal rights, and let's work together to ensure a safer, kinder world for all animals. Remember, no act is too small and no life is too insignificant. Together, we can save lives and create lasting change. Get involved. Make a difference. Be the change.